Hello, good evening and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics live on Trust TV, your go-to platform for everything politics, policy and governance. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight on the program, we focus on the escalation of the war of words between Peter Obi, the Labour Party's presidential candidate in the 2023 elections, and the ruling APC. The candidate has alleged threat to his life, accusations that the APC has dismissed as baseless and inflammatory, claiming they are designed to provoke public anger against the APC government. The controversy began with Peter Obi's New Year message, which critiques the Tinubu administration's performance, sparking sharp responses from the APC's National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka. All these accusations continue to fly as they highlight the deepening fault lines in Nigeria's political landscape, with alliances and strategies already taking shape ahead of the 2027 elections. Even former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has been drawn into the conversation, further fueling the political intrigues. Join us to break down these heated exchanges. Dr. Yunusa Tanko is the National Coordinator of the Obedient Movement, and Bala Ibrahim is APC's Director of Publicity. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you, and thank you so much for joining me on the program tonight. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Right. So where do we start from? Accusations continue to fly. Counter-accusations have also been made public. Dr. Tanko, help us contextualize what was a threat to the life and well-being of your principal, the candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections. Well, what is the nature of this threat, and why does it appear that you are concerned about it?
Okay, first of all, let me say Happy New Year to everybody, and then we should also pray that may we not see the pain and pang of 2024. That aside, you see, in Nigeria, opposition is being termed as if to be a vicious cycle. We're not used to seeing this form of opposition. Critical opposition that dovetail into critical thinking. If we are to be running a political situation where we have a proportional representation in the parliament and all, you will have seen open debate and open counter-accusation about every policy of governance. So that does not make you to be an enemy. Rather, you are pointing out some of these particular issues that need to be corrected and make the situation even more advanced and acceptable to the people. And in that case, His Excellency Peter Obi just stated some of the facts that we are seeing in the public domain that are affecting Nigerian people negatively. Let's start with the issue of economic situation that affect every Nigerian. Let's talk about the issue of the tax reform. Let's talk about the hunger in the land. Let's talk about the issue of insecurity, as it were. So continuously, it is expected that an opposition should raise all of these particular issues, and then he did that with fact and figure. But what will be the response of Felix Morka? He went ahead to also be so emotional, not constructive in any way. He was so emotional in such a way that he critiqued and even went ahead and said that Peter Obi left no legacy whatsoever. And what would you call that? Nobody has accused him, nobody will challenge him for making those particular statements. Then he went ahead and said that, okay, that whatever it is that Peter Obi sees, then he had it coming to himself, so he knows to manage it. That for us is a frontal, threat. Frontal threat, because it means because already we've been raising alarm that there will be a kind of a season attacks on supporters of the Labour Party or Peter Obi, as the case may be, because of the historical situation that happened in 2023.
There are some doctors who say you're overreacting to what is clearly political messaging. Because he's painting the administration in bad light, and you get a sense that the APC also has to fight back. So there's nothing untoward about some of the comments he's making.
You know, before certain things happen to you, I have added that but when you see somebody's mustache is blowing on fire, quickly put water on your own. We have seen a series of arrests already happening because some individual who makes statements as regard to the son of Mr. President was already been arrested and charged to the court and then asked to pay 10 million.
And the IG.
Yeah.
And the IG.
And so many others like that. And the case of a lady who in Sokoto just accused or made statement as regard to the wife of the governor was taken to government house and being flogged. So These are series of signs. When you see a red flag, you don't wait until when it happens to you. And then when he makes that particular something, this is somebody from an authority making those particular statements. So once he makes that particular statement, we have to take it on seriously before it happens to us.
Bala, a lot of people have accused the APC of, complicity, especially because Felix Morka is not just any other APC member. He's a high-ranking member of the National Working Committee. Give me a sense of where the party stands regarding his comments.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to clarify issues. And from Dr. Yunusa's remarks, I now see where the problem is. It's actually, I think by my understanding, a misunderstanding of a phrase or idiom that was used. Get what is coming, because that's what the National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka, used. He said Peter Obi has crossed the line, or is crossing the line, and he will get what is coming. He has to manage it. You see, I think we have to contextualize this. When you say a person is crossing the line, I am not turning this thing into an English class lesson. When you say someone is crossing the line, you simply mean he is going unconventional. If the convention is that we go through the door and come in through the door, if someone decides to go through the window, he is crossing the line. He has gone unconventional. Simple. Check the dictionary.
What was unconventional about the
Very
message?
good. What Felix Morka said was that all the things President Bala Ahmed Tinubu is doing or is saying have been promised by Peter Obi when he was contesting on campaigning for the presidency. For instance, he said when he becomes president, if elected, he is going to remove subsidy day one. And Tinubu, President Bala Ahmed Tinubu, removed subsidy day one. What is the difference between what he said and what he is doing? For him now to come and say President Tinubu has gone against the wish and is bringing pains to the people, he's crossing the line, he's grandstanding, he's going unconventional. He promised that. He promised reforms, the same reforms Tinubu is practicing or is initiating and adopting now in Nigeria. For him to come now and say these reforms are inflicting pains, he's crossing the line and is unconventional. He promised to liberalize the market. He promised a lot of things, which Tinubu has done exactly. If you go through the campaign promises made by Peter Obi, campaign promises made by Atiku Abubakar, none of them has not promised to remove subsidy. But now that the government in power is doing exactly what they said they were also going to do if given the opportunity, they want to set the public against the government, to portray the government in bad light and create enmity, if I may use the word. So by telling him that he has crossed the line is nothing. And when you say you get what is coming, it's not an insult and it's not a threat. Check the dictionary.
But how do you use that in the context of something good? You get what is coming. How is that a positive remark to make?
Get what is coming is simply to say you will reap what you sow. You will reap what you sow. It's an idiom.
From just giving a commentary about the state of the nation?
He has said that when you cross the line and you are always portraying your opponent in bad light, you should know that you are sowing a bad seed. And in Hausa, there is...
Was that what Mr. Peter Obi was doing? Because he also outlined possible ways to solve the problem, didn't he?
No, what he's saying is that the people are in pain, they are in agony, and that Nigerians are not going to endure this thing simply because you remove subsidy.
The president has also admitted that Nigerians are in pain.
But he said he's actually reforming the country with a view to getting us out of the woods. He is injecting innovations with a view to pushing the country to El Dorado. So why should you not accept the fact that it's the same thing you are going to do if you are given the opportunity? But simply because you are not given that opportunity, you are turning it to say that your life is threatened. How does that amount to threat? Look, let me tell you something. There is the late Hausa singer, Alhaji Mamman Shata, used to say, wanda duk aka ce aniyarka ta bika yake fada, to aniyar ce ba ta da alheri tun farko. if I tell you, you will reap what you sow, and you go angry, you flare up, you sulk, then it means you did not sow a good seed.
Yeah, but to be honest, he didn't say Peter Obi will reap what he sowed. He
No,
said
no, I
he
said
would get what is coming. Now you're inferring, you're using a different expression.
Check the dictionary. What is the meaning of get what is coming? Check it's an idiom.
Yeah,
check
I
the dictionary.
Think that is more reactionary than to say, you know, you would see...
but you can use phrases the way you want to.
Okay. Dr. Yunusa, coming back to you, right? A lot of people have accused the APC of political intolerance, that they can't dish out, they can't take what they've been dishing out to others when they were in the opposition. Case in point, the campaign season, the build-up in 2012, Occupy Nigeria, what happened in 2014, and how they characterized the Goodluck administration back then. But now, when they are at the receiving end of it, they appear to be, you know, not so tolerable of some of these criticisms. Do you think that is a fair characterization of what is going on right now?
Let me even help you, probably jittery. Let me use this word. We were all witness to when members of the APC told Nigerians that they were the one who brought in militia, banditry, and all whatnot into the country in order to discredit the government of President. Yeah. You can Google it. I don't want to mention a name, but you can Google it, that they brought in. It is there, it's public knowledge. But very few people have always referred to it. They went as far as doing that. Nobody, on daily basis, Lai Mohammed is always on media, categorically criticizing every aspect of the Goodluck Jonathan's era. Nobody have ever taken them or challenged them, and they went ahead even marching as far as they can with General Muhammadu Buhari in front to the INEC, challenging the status quo, which Peter Obi, who has every opportunity to have turned black to white, but refused to do that. Nobody gave him credit for being a Democrat of impeccable character. Now that he has raised issues, fundamental issues that all of us, as we are seated here, is affecting us, not even somebody who is outside. Would you tell me that Nigerian people are not in pain and pang? Can you tell me that Nigerian people, especially our brothers in the north, are finding it easy for them to travel from Kaduna, from Abuja to Kaduna? They're still in pain and pang. This particular pro-max of pain is established. Is it in the indices as regard to the statistical inflation of what is happening to every Nigerian? Or is it as regard to the food items that affect Nigerians so negatively? Or the issue of insecurity that some of them will also say that it has reduced but not eliminated? Difference of still being there but not eliminated. Are we talking about the issue of how we are being viewed in Committee of Nations outside the country? All of these are facts. All you needed to do as opposition in government, because there can be opposition to us when we can be opposition to them. They can easily take us up and say, this particular figure that Peter Obi put out into the public is not correct, because these are the real facts. That's how the opposition works.
Yeah, Doctor.
But then you went ahead. Instead of you to do a due diligence work on that particular issue that Peter Obi raised, because we raise issues, not personalities. And the issues that we raised were fundamental as against the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that is what is established in politics.
Doctor, the counter argument is that Peter Obi is overdoing it. He's always in the media stoking and also perhaps inciting Nigerians against the Tinubu administration. An administration that is just 19 months in, and he's not giving them a chance to govern properly with all of these distractions.
Exactly.
Of press conference.
Thank you. If you say that he's been on it day one, and exactly that is the truth, and that is what is expected for any opposition to do. What does it mean?
No breathing space?
No, you don't, because if governance is done accurately, you only shut up your opponent by doing the right thing. If you continuously to accuse me of not doing the right thing, do the right thing, then you see whether I'm going to make an issue. But anyway, in every democratic setting, the moment I raise an issue against you and you make a correction, you have improved the standard of living of every Nigerian, and that is expected in governance. That's what democracy is all about.
But doesn't governance take time? Doesn't development take
Of course,
time?
like for example now, if you tell me that I said and accuse you that the bag of rice was 3,500 naira at the beginning of the year, and then now it is costing almost 100,000 naira, then you reduce it to 2,500 naira. Do I have any mouth to talk? Who is the beneficiary? The Nigerian people. This is how we work as a Democrat. You don't take any opposition position.
Principal is exaggerating the scenario and also placing it in such a way that it looks like the administration is just bad at managing the economy.
No, not at all. Because if we are doing the right thing, like a figure, it's just simple. Somebody was telling me today that the Federal Republic of Nigeria's refineries are working. And I said, no, I don't believe that. Because on several occasions, that particular refinery that I've been told that it's working never worked. Never worked. And so on a constant basis, if a government will prove me wrong and shut me up, it's like, okay, before you knew it, 3 of the refineries are working. And it's confirmed. Then I'll pick another issue. The beneficiary of that particular, the beneficiary of that argument is the Nigerian people. The prices of petroleum has reduced. This is how to govern. You don't take any of this particular, and he has practicalized it himself. Somebody accused him frontally and said, you are doing A, B, C, D wrong. And he didn't argue with the woman. He followed her to her house. Ma, tell me the areas in which I'm doing wrong, I'm going to make correction. That is the practical example of leadership. So why do you get angry? Let me even go back to what he said. Using Hausa words and saying that probably that if you are doing something and if you are not doing it, that if somebody says you should be angry. No, you cannot be angry. You cannot be angry as long as you are in governance. You will only take the words of the people and make correction and improve on it.
Right. So, Bala, coming back to you, do you think it's a fair assessment if they say the APC is intolerant, especially when it comes to political criticism of what is happening right now in the country?
You see, it takes us back to the word, to the phrase or idiom, you get what is coming. It takes us back again to the phrase, crossing the line. You see, we have a right. The Constitution has given us the right to express our opinion. It is our right. But in expressing that opinion, I think we should be conscious of the implications of those opinions as to how the public will look at it. Are they capable of inciting the public? Are they capable of creating disharmony? Are they capable of creating confusion and causing commotion in the country? You don't have a right to lie. You don't have a right to twist the meaning of what someone says. There is no such provision in the Constitution. And opposition is part and parcel of democracy. In fact, if there is no opposition, democracy is not going to be, it's going to be stale. It's not going to be healthy. It's not going to be vibrant. It is not the ambition of democracy or the ambition of the APC as the party in power to silence the opposition. No. But at the same time, it is not the ambition of the APC to allow the opposition to be putting words in the wrong place and misleading the public simply because they are in the opposition.
So if you have to be very specific about what was misleading or misrepresented in the New Year message, for instance, what would you point to that Mr. Peter Obi said that was misleading, for instance?
This crossing the line by saying by removal of subsidy, the president has put the country in deep shit. He has really put the people in pain, in agony, and that they cannot stand it.
Is that your interpretation of
that
what he
is my
said,
interpretation. That is my
verbatim?
interpretation. No, that is my interpretation.
So it's safe to say that Peter Obi is responsible for what he said, but you're responsible for how you understand what he said.
Exactly. Just like
we said. So is it possible that you're misunderstanding what he said?
Just like we said he crossed the line and he said we threatened his life. There is nothing like life in line. There is nothing like threat to life in you get what is coming. So I think I said this thing in another program, that it's high time for the opposition to honor the invitation of the ruling party to come and take lessons and lectures on democracy in the progressive institute that has been established by the APC. I think there we will learn to understand politics without bitterness. We will learn to understand how we can, through opposition, compel the government in power to do the right thing to the benefit of the public.
Mr. Morka said, quote, he described the allegations as, quote, self-evident malicious lie. In another expression, he said attention seeking. In another expression, he used the word emotional blackmail. Don't you think that's an overreach?
It all goes down to crossing the line. You see,
when you emotionally blackmailing about what was said, what was the malicious lie there?
Malicious lies is when you say You promise you are going to do something, and someone has done exactly what you said you are going to do. But you said him doing that thing is actually injurious to the country. That is crossing the line because you misinterpret, you misinform, and you are deliberately trying to incite the public against it. That is an emotional expression that is wrong. It's aimed at seeking attention, it's aimed at grandstanding to be celebrated by the public, when in actual sense, what you mean is exactly what he has done.
What is an acceptable criticism, in your view, as the ruling party?
You can do it better. Yes, they have done it this way, but I think it could be done better this way. That is constructive
criticism. You basically captured what Mr. Peter Obi said in that New Year message.
No, he didn't say it that way.
Right.
He didn't say it that way.
He said instead of traveling all the foreign trips, maybe limit your travels here in Nigeria, visit some of those places, especially those not so difficult areas to visit, and so on and so forth, give some advice. And there was no name calling, there were no insult labeled at the president or the administration.
That is the same person who was also abroad with his family on the same Medicare.
As a private citizen?
As a private citizen, right. Yes, I agree. The president has been visiting, has been taking his medication abroad as a private citizen. And he didn't say he's going now to the hospital at the expense of the country. Simply because you are the president of the country does not mean you should turn against the recommendation and advice of your doctors who have been attending to you for decades. Yeah. No, you don't do that. There is healthcare. The question is, did he bother to check at whose expense were those trips, medical trips? Were they at the expense of the country or at his own?
I mean, there are budgetary allocations for the president, for the president's well-being and healthcare. That's a fact. It's in the budget.
So it's constitutionally provided.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not something that was created by the president for his own comfort.
The irony is our healthcare system is so bad that even our president cannot attend to his healthcare needs in Nigeria, and that is the indictment there that's been pointed out by several people.
I don't know if you are listening to the Minister of Health, Dr. Patti, recently, who talked about as a result of the visit of the president abroad, he has succeeded in luring, in getting over 22 investors that are coming to set up first-class, state-of-the-art hospitals in Nigeria. Right. Would he have gotten that if he had stayed at the villa all this while?
Right, so that's the benefit of him attending to his medical...
Absolutely, right. Because you go out to seek. You don't sit down and wait for them to come to you. You go out to seek, to market, sell, and tell the world that, look, the same thing we are looking for, Ghana is looking for it, Kenya is looking for it, South Africa is looking for it. If you sit down in Abuja, you think they will come to you when people are going to them? No, you go out, that is governance.
So that's not medical tourism, that's governance.
Now the medical tourism is being attracted to your own country. Should you go for your own medical attention at the expense of the public, and you initiated that only when you became president, that is an issue for discussion. Okay. But this president is the richest president Nigeria ever had. This is a president that has not been in poverty all his life. This is a president that has been getting treatment medically abroad in the last 20, 30 years. He has been attending hospitals abroad. Why should you say just because he's a president, he should move to Yanya for medication? Is that fair?
Well, unfortunately, hundreds of millions of Nigerians have to go to Yanya and the likes.
That is destiny. That is destiny. I am not saying that simply because...
the service is less than satisfactory. That is what the issue is.
That is a different ball game altogether. Okay. We are not saying, when they were in government, when Peter Obi was the governor of Anambra State, nobody was going to private clinic in Anambra State. Everybody in Anambra State was going to public hospital. We are not going to condescend to that level. That would be childish to say.
Let's bring you back to Dr. Tanko. Do you get the sense that the APC as a ruling party is not open-minded about honest conversations that would lead to national development? Do you feel like you can't talk to them, you can't reason with them about some of these issues?
They are even more defensive and very aggressive to issues that when you raise them, they become very aggressive and feel as if like a wounded lion while you mention it. I'll give you an example. In Tungam Magaji, very close to the airport here, there's a clinic there. They have only one nurse, and that particular area is supposed to cater for close to about 2,000 or 3,000 people inhabitant in that particular area. We visited the place with His Excellency Peter Obi, and we saw the decay in that particular level. In fact, the nurse there had not been paid salary. So now, and then you are administering a country. you have a budget. Maybe it is an opportunity now for us to interrogate actually how much Mr. President has been spending on his medical treatment, just like as you say. So maybe Nigerians will know those particular sum of amount probably could have helped that Tunga Magaji in building some of those particular. The building itself is dilapidated. It's right here by the airport. Not even going to interior. And these are the health facility that you promised and you swore to, and you swore to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you are going to provide. So is it out of a place for us to highlight this particular area? Obviously no. Let me make a good clarification as regard to this issue of removing of subsidy. You may want to build a house. I and him may want to build a house. You may decide to use your own, to build your own house through bricks. I may decide to use my own with woods. But the fact is that I'm building a house. So when we said that when Peter Obi said he was going to remove subsidy, yes he did, and he never said day one. There's no any fact to say that he's not going to be day one. No, in fact, it was the president himself who played to the gallery at that time, and that cost us to this particular pain and pain. We agreed that that particular subsidy must be removed, but it can be done in stages. We can decide to go in it by having a modular refinery to cushion the effect, but you will not put pain and pang on Nigeria, which is established. And you cannot deny that particular fact that there's a pain and hunger in the land. We have seen it. There are stampede happening that happened in Ibadan. There's stampede happened in Abuja here. And all of them are tuned towards hunger in the land. So when you mention it doesn't mean that probably you are impugning on somebody's integrity or so. No, we are saying that there is this particular situation on ground. Find solution to it. And that's what Nigerians are expecting. So if you can dish this kind of criticisms with a lot of venom when you are seeking for position of power, and then when you are being given a half of that particular dose, you are thinking as in probably you are going to faint. That shows you how you are not receptive to open criticisms. I am pointing out and I'm challenging anybody that has figures that contradict that of Peter Obi, and we will apologize if we know that we are wrong. But these are facts that we put on ground for you to check if it's wrong. His Excellency took his time to really go through what he presented to the Nigerian people and say, look, this is wrong. You cannot take Nigerian people's money to do something that is not affecting their life positively. And you are trying to make sure that you tax them again when they are already suffering. At the last regime, we were crying. Nigerians were crying that this hardship is too much. Then you now bring a pro-max pain on them and you are asking them not to talk?
Do you also feel it is fair to point out that your principal, Mr. Peter Obi, is oversimplifying what it will take to fix the problem? Because in the final analysis, there seems to be a common ground between experts who say it's going to take the hard way to fix the Nigerian economy. There's no easy way out of this. So it's safe to say that the criticism of President Bala Ahmed Tinubu might be exaggerated to a certain degree, because regardless of who is in the Asarok Villa, it's going to take a very tough decision to get us out of the woods.
What is tough in you spending trillions of naira in building a road that you do not need, then using that same money to repair the existing road? What is tough? It's simple. You don't need any rocket science. If you could go and borrow money to build a road that you and I don't need at this particular point in time,
you're talking about the coastal highway?
Yes. This is huge
not
amount of
necessary?
money. At this point in time, no. When the road from Abuja here to get to Lokoja, from Lokoja to Benin cannot be repaired. When Benin to Onitsha and the road of them cannot be repaired, Onitsha to Enugu is still existing. The Eastern Bypass Road are still existing and not motorable. If not for the fact that we've been crying here on your studio, the Kaduna to Abuja road will not be patched the way it is. One of the sides of the road is completely neglected. Come on. Do you need a rocket science to tell you that you need those particular money to use in this particular area where the people can benefit from it? So it's not a hard decision.
Is there a chance, Doctor, that they are able to see it? I mean, it's the prerogative of the administration to apply resources the way they see fit.
And also the prerogative of the opposition to challenge it when it's seen to be wrong.
Right, okay. One part before we circle back to Malam Bala, where Mr. Felix Morka said many eminent and highly respected elder statesmen have been serially attacked, humiliated, and bullied by Obi's online followers. Obi has never condemned their conduct or called them to order. And he said that on the basis of this is why the APC believes that the messaging, the political messaging and rhetoric of Peter Obi and his followers is aimed at inciting the people or engineering their minds against the Tinubu administration. You are the national coordinator of the Obedient movement. Give me a sense of how you think this message resonates with you.
The Nigerian people are not stupid, neither they are crazy. Do you remember the encounter between Wole Soyinka and Peter Obi? There was this similar allegation as regard to what Professor Wole Soyinka said at that time. And then he picked up his phone to do due diligence and say, okay, look, please tell you, Tanko, please try and make sure that our people don't respond in this manner. What did the professor say? The professor said that it now occurred to him that it was Peter Obi who was inciting them. Blatant accusation. Even when he took action as regard to correct the misperception.
You don't think there are some comments that some of your supporters make online that makes you scratch your head and say, I wouldn't have said that?
Look, the Nigerian people, especially the youth, are tired of the shenanigans in the system. They wake up in the morning, most of them don't have jobs. They wake up in the morning, they see a Nigerian committing suicide because he cannot eat 3 square meals. They wake up in the morning and hear that 1 or 2 members of the National Assembly or some other person in the ministry have carted away millions of naira at the expense of them. And then you expect them, naturally, to keep quiet. They are tired, my brother. They are really, really tired. Maybe you can say they are overreaching themselves with some of their statements, but quite honestly, the Nigerian youths are being so ridiculously patient with some of our leaders. Ridiculously patient to a point that in which you are holding them in disdain. The president came out and said he doesn't even owe anybody any apology for taking his decisions. That is not good. You're talking to your people, the people that you promised to govern.
Some say that's purposeful leadership.
No, that is an incitive and even that particular statement is enough to incite every Nigerian. While you are walloping in wealth, buying a yacht, buying an airplane, building a new house for the vice president, which he doesn't need.
The yacht thing is for the Navy, to be fair.
Look, no, you are just making a clarification as regard to what it is. Even people who are still challenging that particular budget of that particular yacht was not presented to the National Assembly. What do you have to say to that? So, but then the needs of the Nigerian people have not been seen to. So every day they hear how their leaders cut away with money belonging to them, which was kept in trust to those who find themselves in position of power, yet not used for the Nigerian people. Right. So, and you think that probably the time has come, and we should be careful. We should be careful, and I want to use the word of former President Muhammad Buhari, who was at that time seeking for position of power. He said, there's a time bomb ahead of us. This neglected youth, there's a time bomb ahead of us. We need to take care of them, but we are not. But rather what we are inflicting on them is pain and pang on a continuous basis with level of disdain.
Malamba, let's talk about how this is not just a Labour Party versus APC, because Atiku Abubakar also weighed in and said the APC administration is doing all it can to stifle the opposition. I mean, these are the 2 leading opposition parties in the country, and they seem to share, I mean, not just the political parties, but the political figures seem to share the same opinion about, the actions of the APC when it comes to accepting criticism, or at least understanding where the criticism is coming. Do you think that you're sending a wrong message to not just your followers, but to Nigerians, that it's your way or it's your way and the only way, and it's your way or the highway, and that's why you're reacting like this?
You see, our reaction, if I may use the word reaction, is not out of tune with reality. We react according to Newton, proportionate to the action that is. But on the other side, the opposition, particularly the Labour Party, seems to be always eager to incite, to make accusations without substantiation. I'm happy you have clarified the issue of yacht, which they have gone to town saying is the presidential yacht. You see, they don't check. If they go through the budget, if they go through the plans of the government, some of these things they are going to the studio talking about, they will not be ridiculing themselves talking about them. Everyone has his own style of leadership and governance. They have made their promises to the public. The promises were looked into by the public and they were rejected. We made our own promises to the public. They look at the promises and the plan, they accept it. For God's sake, the period of politics is gone. It is now the period of governance. Allow us to govern. If at the end of our mandate, we are not able to govern well, the people have a right to reject us without being incited, without using words like the youth are being unduly patient. I don't like words like that. It's inciting.
But looking at your trajectory, right, and how the current president and the past president took part in what you today would not accept, inciting people or galvanizing the public against government policies. Case in point, 2012, Occupy Nigeria against subsidy removal, which today, by the way, you celebrate as the right step in the right direction. I mean, why can't you, practice what you preach?
We have not stopped them from peaceful protest. Nobody has stopped them from expressing their opinion. But we don't want them to be calling oranges apples. We don't want them to call crossing the line as threat to their lives. No, they should read the books and understand what these things are meant to. Nobody, when they say you cross the line, it simply means you have done something unconventional. It doesn't mean anybody who says you cross the line is saying you are going to be killed or is a threat to your life. That is an inciting statement that should not come out of people who really know what.
So the APC stands by what Mr. Felix Morka said?
Of course it does.
You're unapologetic about it.
There is nothing to apologize, because I told you, look at the dictionary, check these two idioms. Crossing the line simply means doing things unconventional. Getting what is coming to you simply means you will reap what you sow. If you did wrong, you are going to get a befitting punishment.
So you don't think that was an emotional response, because he didn't respond with facts to say this is what the administration has done, this is what the administration has done. It was an emotional response.
No, he did. He responded with facts.
Do you think calling Peter Obi a liar is respectful?
If he lied, he's a liar. That's it. You can't call.
Did he lie?
He did lie.
About
the president introducing fuel subsidy removal. He said he did because he promised.
So he also
promised.
That we all know.
He also promised the same, but because he was not given the opportunity, now he said the person who has done that which he promised is harming the country. So when you misrepresent facts, you lie. When you misrepresent intention, you lie. When you inject in emotion with a view to sensitizing people against the person in power, you lie. It all depends on how you look at it. This is simple English.
Some would read this reaction from the APC and say, maybe you're feeling uneasy because Nigerians would then resonate with the message and this could affect your political currency.
How can we feel uneasy when people are celebrated? When people are beginning to see, they are beginning to see.
The inflation is at its highest level at 34.6%. Transportation fares are at an all-time high. The cost of living is above any data that the NBS is able to churn out. I'm sure Nigerians are not celebrating. Let's be honest about it.
Do you want us to turn this thing into an economic lesson?
I mean, if you have an economic point, you can go ahead.
Yes, we can look at them.
Yeah.
Anybody that is a reformist, if you are going to introduce reform, you are like an orthopedic doctor to a patient who has had a fracture or dislocation. And I want to tell you that that doctor is not going to be a friend of that patient. No way. Because he's going to inflict pains, but correctional pains. Correctional pains. In correcting the anomaly, in correcting the fracture, the patient must be in pain. But at the end of the day, give him time to recover. He will be the best of friends. So, let's go. You agree we are going to do economics?
Yeah.
You are talking about inflation.
Just to take you up on that point.
Just
to take you up on that point.
Okay.
I mean, you can double down on the inflation figures, right? A new car for the president, a new jet for the president. Their cost of managing the presidential villa, him and the vice president, is also quite significant. 10 billion naira going to the Senate president, the speaker, and 2 other persons. The profligacy in this administration is quite telling, aside from the tens of international trips, which I believe you will justify. Nigerians are saying we're not on the same page with our leaders, as Nigerians are groaning, unable to afford their basic means of livelihood. The president and the people in power are basically living above the means of the people they govern. Is that not a fact?
Okay. First, let's do some elementary
I thought you would give me a yes or no.
No, I will not give you a yes because it's a monosyllabic question.
Yeah, but do you think the president is in the same boat with the people of this country?
Absolutely. He is. And you have to differentiate between the president and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. By virtue of
They're two different people.
Yes, they are two different people.
Who is the president?
Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
And what's the difference there?
Very good. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is an individual. The president is a representative of an institution. And when Bola Ahmed Tinubu is leaving the villa, he's not going to go with any of those things that belong to the presidency. So you have to differentiate this. But when they want to less confusion, they bring in these things and they put them together and they sell it to the people and say this is it. There is what we call status. And if you look at status, it doesn't mean that because you have the people at heart, when you come, you will reduce the status of the office you are occupying. If I knew you are inviting me to this studio and this studio is not air conditioned, believe you me, I will not come. You as a producer or as a presenter or the moderator may not have air conditioning in your house, probably. But at your place of work, there has to be a level of comfort befitting the status of that place.
The analogy works, Malam Bala, because the question is, time and time again, the president has come on air to ask Nigerians to be patient, to endure the sacrifice, that this is what is needed to fix the economy, right? Because Nigerians are unable to make ends meet. I mean, not to exaggerate the situation, this is possibly one of the worst economic situations that we've been in recent history, right? The president, while the president is saying that, the public is looking at the headlines and all the expenditures there's going into furniture, there's going into their welfare, their well-being. The president is flying to Paris for his medical bills when Nigerians are unable to get basic health care in their localities and all of these things. And you are saying that, you know, these are just perks of the office and there's nothing special about them. How can people resonate with the message when you cannot clearly understand where they're coming from?
Okay, as we speak today, the president is in Ghana attending the inauguration of the new president. And I'm sure people with such mindset would expect the president, in order for him to feel the pulse of the public, he should go there in a motorway, not in a presidential jet befitting the status of Nigeria. You feel the president should downgrade himself to a level that is below the status of Nigeria, simply because there are people out there who will say, I have not eaten today, I have not eaten lunch yesterday, and therefore, you will have to differentiate the status of a country and the status of the person presiding over the country.
So when the president says Nigerians have been living fake lives, isn't that exactly what's happening? I mean, the cost of governance is high and we're living above our means when it comes to some of these expenditures, not necessarily traveling to Ghana or traveling to, but you know, the bigger picture of some of the expenditure we're spending on the less than 1% who are running the government. I mean, you're saying that we don't need to cut the cost of governance?
I am not saying we shouldn't cut the cost of governance. Certainly the cost of governance needs to be cut. But in cutting it, it doesn't mean we should cut governance completely. Okay. We don't cut off governance simply because we want to cut the cost of governance.
Right.
So we should do it realistically in a way that will not make us ridicule ourselves before the Committee of Nations.
Okay. Dr. Tanko,
yeah.
Let's just get your response to how Bala thinks that you and other members of the opposition are misrepresenting the facts. What do you think Nigerians need to take away from the mixed messaging, from what they're hearing from the opposition and the response of the ruling party? What is your sense of how Nigerians are viewing this back and forth about what is actually happening in Nigeria?
Well, I'm glad that he has accepted that what was said that by Felix Morka is what they really believe as a political party. So it's established that, yes, the accusation and the threat to life, as we saw it, is something that is established by the APC and they've already owned up to it. So when we say it, it doesn't mean that we are lying. And it's very also clear.
You think this is an endorsement of that message?
Of course, he just confirmed it. I didn't say it. He confirmed it and said it's true. So that
he just said he agreed with Felix Morka.
And then when you agree with something, that is an affirmation of what the position of that particular person was. So it's okay. Then we will know. Then we too are taking it up on that particular level. So you don't need the Nigerian people to really decide on what they want at this particular statement. Now, with regard to the messages, His Excellency Peter Obi woke up on the 1st of January. And he didn't go anywhere. He went straight to the IDP camps to visit those Nigerians who were completely neglected and ignored by Nigerian leaders who believe that probably they don't deserve a better life. And then he went there to give them support. Not only that, he went again to give a condolence visit to the governor of Jigawa State, and on and on and on, all the other 24 hours. That is practical leadership. You don't need any other messaging to tell you that I am more concerned about what happened within my domain and my people. And I'm trying to give them succor. And at the same time, he went ahead to give every department of Nigeria areas on which they are need and so concerned. That is our messaging.
Right. Doctor, there are some who say that what is happening in Nigeria is quite unconventional in the sense that also unprecedented to some degree, where usually after you lose an election, there's a period of hibernation where you revisit the drawing board, you take a look at what you need to do better if you have the intention of running again and things like that. And the political party takes the lead in opposition. Usually you don't see these key political figures like the previous candidates, always in the news saying all of these things. Do you think your principle needs to take a beat, hibernate, and allow the administration to run the affairs of the state and allow the Labour Party, for instance, to speak on some of these issues and then resurface when it's time for campaign?
Okay.
Because the accusation is that he has been politically active during the campaigns, during the elections, and immediately after the election.
Exactly. And the same press or media that accuse candidates and political parties that they become docile. They are not active. The moment election is done, they'll go back to their cocoon and then they'll only resurface when it's time for election. That is why it is different. It is not the conventional political scenario that you are used to. And if I've given you an example, in a contemporary political scenario where we have proportional representation, every aspect of the government will be criticized by the opposition.
So you don't think his actions are annoying?
No, not at all. It's not annoying. You see, when we practice democracy at the way it ought to have been practiced, we should have been seeing these particular criticisms as an open opportunity for you to make correction. It's like giving you a free consultancy for you to improve for the benefit of the people. That is the way democracy should work. Yeah. But we are not used to it. That is the reason why it looks as if it's something new.
Well, but just before we go, I think Dr. Yunusa expects you to say thank you for the free consultation with regards to, but honestly speaking, with regards to the conversation around bettering Nigeria, national development, some of these ideas, it's safe to say that maybe you might disagree with what Peter Obi is saying or what Atiku Abubakar is saying or what any other political opposition member is saying. But in terms of open conversation about what is best for Nigeria, just briefly before we go, do you think your party has not only the thick skin to take the criticism to heart, but also the willingness to open its mind to superior arguments about the best way forward?
I will answer that, but first, let me clarify what Dr. Yunusa said I endorsed, that yes, we threaten their lives. I have just gotten the meaning of the idiom. He has what is coming mean. It says he is getting the punishment or bad result that he deserves. That is what the dictionary says.
That's quite negative, isn't it?
No.
Yes.
Punishment that he deserves.
Right.
That
so
he
do you
deserves.
think Peter Obi deserves to be punished for expressing his
punishment?
views?
When people reject you at the poll, it's a punishment. When people refuse to vote for you, it's a punishment.
You call 6 million people a rejection?
Sorry?
6 million votes a rejection?
Out of what? 6 million out of what? Complete it. 6 million out of what?
Out of what?
Out of what? What is the total population of the voters?
Right.
What is the total population?
No, I'm just asking. You could just say yes.
You could say yes or no. If you say 6 million out of 20-something million, that is a rejection.
Right. Okay.
If someone got 15 million and you got 6 million, are you a force to reckon with? So this is what you should understand. Punishment we must look at things in their perspective and understand them. When I say punishment, it doesn't mean killing. When I say punishment, that you deserve, not what you don't deserve.
So he deserves to be punished for
Absolutely, he has even been punished. And the reaction that is coming to him by refusing to vote for him, by refusing to accept it, is a punishment that he deserves.
Okay.
So that's it.
What? To respond to, but I'm glad that you already contradicted yourself.
So
here.
when
you find that you already went through to see the practical.
That is what it means.
Because you are, so what you should expect is that, His Excellency, please, we are expecting punishment from the government.
So punishment means threat to life?
No, punishment can come in different ways.
It can come in different ways,
yes,
but not necessarily.
It's
a threat to life. Punishment, the people have already punished him.
Where do we
Gentlemen,
they refuse you.
No.
They refuse you.
We started the conversation by saying...
If we get 6 million people
out of what?
voting for, out of 38 million.
Very good. So, and you feel you should be put up...
Let me come to a debate. The registered number of voters in Nigeria are 98 million voters.
Maybe we'll have to circle back, Dr. Tanko, because we're completely out of time.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, maybe
you are now challenging.
We're completely out of time, gentlemen. Maybe we continue the conversation offline. But of course, we started the conversation with Dr. Bala saying he doesn't want to turn it into an English class, but I think we ended up with an English conversation.
But anyway, it's not contradicting. You think punishment means killing?
Yeah, gentlemen,
punishment means killing.
Thank you so much for joining me on this conversation tonight. I appreciate you very much for your time. I've been speaking to Bala Ibrahim. He's the APC's Director of Publicity, and of course Dr. Yunusa Tanko is the coordinator of the Obedient movement, speaking on the recent development, the back and forth between Peter Obi and the APC's spokesperson, who also said some rather interesting words about Mr. Peter Obi's New Year message. That's our show for you tonight. Thank you most kindly for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 p.m. exclusive as always on Trust TV. Until next time, my name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Good evening.